And it is time once again for another AEW Dynamite review here on the MrWarrenHayes Show channel. Hello. I'm Mr. Warren Hayes himself, welcoming you to this fine edition of the review, the September 26th edition, in which we will be reviewing the big AEW Grand Slam show that happened in New York City at the Arthur Ashe Stadium on September 25th, 2024. I mean, thank you for being here. Might as well just get to it, right? You all know the drill in regards to likes on YouTube and 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and 5-star ratings on Spotify. You all know this by now, right? I don't need to remind you, right? You'll do this just very easily, right? Without needing to be, prod or pushed into doing it, right? Right? The last update, as I'm recording this, the last update we got from WrestleTix indicated that 8,191 tickets were distributed for the show yesterday. That's about, it's better. It's better than what they were doing, up until this point. For the longest time, the situation for ticket sales were extremely dire. I have heard and seen people get very, very good floor tickets for very, very on the cheap over the past couple of days. I don't know how much they papered. They probably did because, they moved a few thousand tickets over the past couple of days to get to this number. So there was probably a lot of comps being given out. Like I said, some papering going on. I think that's quite likely the possibility. And I mean, look, I'm saying 8,191 is better than what this show was angling to be, but it's still not good. It's still not good. 11,263 people, or at least tickets were distributed, I should say, for last year's Grand Slam. Now, we know that it has been on a downward trend in that regard. And AEW didn't even crack 10K in this arena, where about it's a 20,000 seat arena. What am I talking about? It's a stadium, 20,000 seat stadium. They can't even fill half of it with people. And honestly, I think it was kind of disappointing to see the setup, with the lighting, and making it didn't feel special. This is what I'm trying to get at. How about the event didn't feel special? It didn't feel like they were running a special venue because everything was blacked out, tarped off and blacked out, just like every other AEW show, avoiding taking shots of the hard cam side like the plague. It didn't feel special. So there's no real return running Arthur Ashe this year. It didn't feel like a big deal. It didn't come across as a big deal. It came across just like every other humdrum AEW show, when one would expect, one would hope, one would wonder that this show would be anything but humdrum and just run of the mill. Like, this is Grand Slam. This historically for AEW is a big show, and there were some big matches here, and it's a show that overall I really liked. Don't get me wrong. There's some issues. I don't think it was a perfect show from top to bottom, but I think the stuff that clicked so incredibly high that I left watching Dynamite last night very satisfied. I was overall very happy about it. But this could have been in Wilkes-Barre, and it would have, like, as far as the atmosphere, the crowd, and so it just would have felt the same. I'm sorry to say, like, you know, the Arthur Ashe show this year didn't come across as anything special. You couldn't even tell it was at Arthur Ashe. So frankly, they being AEW, absolutely need to skip going back to Arthur Ashe next year and probably the year after that. Like, I think the next time you come around to Queens is when you're really hot again. We spoke about this, I believe it was last week, when we were talking about how New Yorkers will buy tickets to shows that are hot. They'll go to the thing that's hot, that has a good buzz, because there is so much to do on a Wednesday, on any day of the week, in fact, in New York, that if you're going to get someone to buy a ticket for a thing, it has to be something particularly hot, something that will captivate the imagination, kind of thing. And as it stands, well, you know, it's like AEW is just not that right now. It used to be, but it's not that right now. And I think these are the returns that you're getting. So absolutely they need to skip. They need to take a little break from heading to Arthur Ashe. Try to get the ball rolling. Now, this is unless there is a tremendous reversal of fortune, and suddenly they're selling out everywhere again. Like, they've cracked the code, they have their stars, and they're ready to go. And maybe then they make a triumphant return to Arthur Ashe next year, where they pack in 18,000, 19,000, 20,000 people into the stadium. But right now it's just not the case, you know. And here's the thing, it's like, here's another thing. On top of it, you know, they're taping Rampage. I think they're taping Collision, I know. And I think they're taping the rest of their weekly shows. The shows for the week, I should say, right here. So that is like, it's a 6-hour commitment that you're asking people to get into on a Wednesday night. It's pretty intense. And I've heard reports that, you know, people were filing out during Collision, during the Okada match, the Sammy Guevara Okada match. I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't blame anyone, and it connects to what I've been saying about what I just said about New Yorkers. Is like, they'll just leave. They'll just pack up and leave. If they're not into it, they want to catch the train home or whatever. It's like, okay, I'm out of here. 6 hours is a hell of a commitment. Like, 6 hours is a hell of a commitment, particularly on a work night, a school night, whatever type of night you want to call it. But as I said, I thought the show was very good, because the stuff that was very good was actually excellent. You know? And what I really liked here on this show is that you truly had a variety of matches, a variety of different wrestling matches that you could really sink your teeth into, that called upon, you know, different sensibilities. And I can appreciate that. You know, when folks talk about AEW being a variety show where you have a little bit of everything for everyone, well, sometimes I feel like that's a cop-out to do some slapstick, do some nonsense. So it's like, it's a variety show, you know. Yeah, but I want to watch pro wrestling, not a variety show. If I want to watch a variety show, I'll pop on the Donnie and Marie show, the Osmonds back from, the 70s when they had their variety, or the Carol Burnett show. Am I showing my age yet? That's the kind of stuff that I'll that I'll look that I'll look to that I'll seek out to put on my TV if I'm looking for a variety show. But now I want to watch pro wrestling. So, but nonetheless, I feel like last night this was a show that had a variety of things for multiple pro wrestling fans. Like, I feel like when AEW says it's a variety show, you know, that there's variety on the show. How about that? This is what I think it should mean, as opposed to having, you know, soap opera angles and, you know, all that stuff. This is what I think it means. This is how I feel it should. This is how I feel it should come across as. Because you had you had a match that was just like a great technical match, like a fantastic grappling technical match full of drama. You had another one which was your high spot festival, high energy high spot festival, and then you had the big crazy ass, you know, brawl beat down. You had your hardcore plunder match in the middle. Like, you know, there literally was something for everyone. And every match on this card felt different, came across as different, and three matches in particular helped elevate the card. And I think one of the things that made them that made that happen is because the matches were so different from one another. We weren't getting similar styles. We were getting things that lived in their own little bubble. It's as if everyone got down, sat around a table. What are you guys doing tonight? What are you guys doing tonight? And everyone was like, okay, then we'll try and stay out of each other's lanes and we'll do this. And that is healthy. That shows that that you can reach into the depth of the talent that you have on your show, that you have on your roster, I should say, the depth of talent that you have on your roster, and let them compose their matches and just go out and have pro wrestling matches. And there's some things that were happening during these pro wrestling matches that had the crowd on their feet, got them excited, got them popping. Let's just go ahead. Let's start reviewing this this Grand Slam then. Let's get into it. But I mean, if you wanted to know if I liked it, there you go. I liked the show overall. Not a perfect show. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. And now we're going to get into the details. So the show started off with Nigel McGuinness making his entrance, coming out to, he was coming out to fucking the bushes, essentially. That was actually fun. It quite frankly, it's probably the only Oasis song that I properly stomach. And it's not necessarily because it's Nigel's theme song. I don't have the emotional connection to that era of Ring of Honor that a lot of people do, that a lot of people, especially people who lived through that era, and I can understand why they do. My connection to Ring of Honor comes much later. Basically me watching Ring of Honor when I started picking up some stuff. And again, there's a lot of blind spots in my Ring of Honor knowledge. I'm not going to pretend that I'm this scholarly, knowledgeable individual in regards to Ring of Honor, but I started watching Ring of Honor from an archival purpose, right? From something where you're like, well, I have to watch Ring of Honor if I want to be able to appreciate, pro wrestling. This is a substantial part of North American professional wrestling history. I got to watch it. So I came in rather late. So, Nigel McGuinness was a tremendous pro wrestler. Don't get me wrong. I don't have the emotional connection that a lot of people had or have to him and to this match in particular. I appreciate its significance, the gravity around it, the story that they that they wove all around it. I am so completely sold on all of that, and how I get it, how much of a significant moment it is for fans, particularly of that era of Ring of Honor. Like, I get it. Like, I 100% get it. But, you know, I wasn't weeping. I wasn't like shaking. I wasn't shook. I wasn't shook to see this match. I was like, okay, cool. Like, you know, I was properly excited. I was like, yeah, this is pretty dope. Let's have ourselves a good match. I hope everyone has fun, you know, type of situation. And it didn't disappoint. It didn't disappoint in any way, shape, or form. Oh, no. But I was saying this because of the theme song. Because I don't like Oasis. As opposed to Ring of Honor and Nigel McGuinness, you know, I don't like Oasis. I've never liked Oasis. I started listening when I really got into music. I was fortunate to be connected with a bunch of pals who were very much that were very much into two different scenes. One being involved in the very into like the non-FM radio vinyl environment, you know, where you'd be basically trading records and have you heard this obscure band. So I came up listening to, knowing about, you know, the Seattle sound before it actually became a thing and exploded because of Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Screaming Trees and Soundgarden. Was Screaming Trees really that big? Probably not. No. But anyway, you know. But it's, you know, so there was those on one end, and then on the other hand, I had friends who were like legit like rave DJs who would do that for a living, and so I was very much into EDM as well. But you know, I think what they call now IDM, which is, I think it's like intelligent dance music or intellectual dance music, as opposed to EDM. It's IDM. Anyway, I think that's what they call it today. Back then, we just call it techno. Like it has. So basically what I'm saying is that a lot of the music I listened to back then was very counterculture, and I made a point of pride, because I'm a fucking music hipster. I made it a point of pride to, you know, not listen to FM radio, not listen to what was being served up on the airwaves. I was like, no. I am a connoisseur. I am able to curate my own music tastes. Thank you very much, obnoxious radio DJ number 3. So, you know, Oasis kind of represented everything that I disliked about music at the time. And I understand, don't get me wrong, I understand why they're big, and I still, you know, and I still get it to, I get it. I want to, but I'm one of these people who took a tremendous amount of joy and pleasure in knowing that the Gallaghers never got along. Like, they just hated each other's guts. And I was like, I hope they stay, you know, mad at each other forever, you know? So the announcement for their tour coming up has me thinking, you know, if we could only be so lucky if it ends like the Jane's Addiction tour. That would be tremendous. Nevertheless, why did we go down this? Oh yeah, so I just don't like Oasis. It's never been a band that spoke to me. I've just been on the margins of that. Like, and I understand they're like a big deal for a lot of people. But it just doesn't work for me. It just does not. And I find Noel Gallagher to be obnoxious. Yeah, it's just like everything. Nothing works for me for Oasis. That being said, Nigel's theme song is probably the only Oasis song that I can stomach. God damn, that was a very roundabout way to get to that. But I did want to give a little bit of context, that I'm not just, so that people know that, you know, I'm not just like this out of the blue, you know, oh, he's just another hater. No, I have a hater. I'm a hater with history. I can back up. I'm a hater, but I can back up the hate in this circumstance. I want y'all to go back. I want y'all to go back and listen to my prediction as to how this match was going to happen last week on the AEW review, the AEW Dynamite review last week from last Thursday. I want you to go listen to it, and then I want you to compare and contrast how things happened last night. And I'm going to tell you, I got it. I told you this was going to happen, right? Because last week I was lamenting, why are they not outright announcing Danielson's going to be there? When they are in a circumstance where they have to be putting butts in seats, why are they holding back and saying, oh, well, Danielson may not be there? And again, I understand it was a storyline. I understand that they were being facetious about this. We deep down inside, we all knew he was going to be there, but it's pro wrestling, and there's always the possibility of a bait and switch that AEW has never done. But you wouldn't want to do it. But you especially want to announce that he's going to be there, because you want people to go to your show, because you've been struggling to fill this arena. You haven't even hit this stadium. You haven't even hit 10,000 people in this stadium. And you're like, well, one of our top guys may or may not be there for this match that's been 15 years in the making. Is that why are you doing this, right? That was the circumstance in me setting all of this up. So what happened last night is exactly how I said it was going to happen. They were probably going to have Nigel come out, and they're going to hit Danielson's music, and he's not going to come out, and then he's going to tell the referee to start the count, and then Danielson finally comes out, and they have the match. It's exactly what happened. It's exactly as I thought it would happen. Now, does this make it better? No. I still think they should have announced it. It's kind of dumb, making people worry and panic till the very last minute. And maybe there are people who are watching this at home in the New York area saying, maybe I should have been there. You get there, you have the final countdown, you have the whole 9 yards. Anyway, tremendous match. Just an excellent match. Like an excellent match. That sequence of chain wrestling that they were doing at the start of the match, I got chills. When you're not watching guys dropping each other on their necks. You're not watching, guys chopping the shit out of each other until their chest turned to hamburger. You're just seeing two masters of the craft just going at it. And Nigel here looked a lot better, but Danielson did a lot of work. Which again is kind of what I was expecting. Danielson clearly was the best guy for Nigel to work with here, because this is Nigel's second match in a decade and a half. So of course he's going to need a little hand holding. He's going to need someone to cover for him. And Danielson was absolutely perfect in this. Perfect in the role. And he did have a lot of offense, a lot of the big beats of the match were provoked, brought forth by Danielson. McGuinness looked fine. I thought he looked actually really good. I don't know if I'd say let's go for the singles run, but nonetheless, he got the kinks, the initial stress of getting back in the ring out of him when he wrestled at Wembley Stadium in the Gauntlet, and then he gets paired up with Danielson, who will do whatever it takes to make sure that Nigel looks good and the match flows, and he hits his offense. He being Nigel, he does the rebound lariat, he does the Tower of London, and it all looks great. Danielson's selling his ass off. Danielson's actually selling the wrist or the arm, because he gets thrown to the floor and he lands on it, and McGuinness then is able to work at it. He's able to work after it. So instead of, needing to land in some really high octane offense, he's able to slow it down. He's able to use this as the impetus for the story, where he's working a body part. But I mean, these guys were so good. They were so good, and they were so good together. And I don't want to give the impression that, this was a carry job by Danielson. What I'm saying is that Danielson was able to probably was able to cover for a lot of shortcomings. If there were any, I can't outright point at them. Sometimes I thought Nigel's offense looked a little soft. When he was doing the hammer and anvil elbows on Danielson, I was like, this doesn't look great. The corner kick that he does, standing, with the doing the headstand in the corner. I kind of always thought that was a bit of a goofy spot, regardless, But the Tower of London looked absolutely phenomenal. The lariats, the rebound lariat was absolutely phenomenal, and they worked so well together. Like, these guys just have unnatural chemistry. This match ruled. And I love the finish, just a brilliant finish where Danielson is having trouble getting the label lock cinched in. And he's trying his best, but he's hurt. His arm is hurt and he's trying, he can't do the S grip. Taz did a fantastic job on this as well. I love the technical expertise that Taz brings to these types of matches, because he's saying Taz put over fantastically the problems Danielson was having, why he needed to get an S grip on and he couldn't because of his hand, because of his arm, and Nigel is trying to get out of it. Danielson is trying to hold it on, and it's a struggle from both guys. And Danielson finally, gets it in while favoring his arm, and McGuinness taps. And I love how after commentary also said that there is no shame in Nigel McGuinness tapping out, because Danielson made Kazuchika Okada, a man who hadn't tapped out like in a decade or so, he made Kazuchika Okada tap out with a broken arm. So he said, no shame in what's happening there. I'm like, all of this is fantastic. You see, this is what perfect example of just some good sports-based storytelling. No goofy angles, no weird reasons. Just like Danielson was able to tap this guy who hadn't tapped in eons with a broken arm. So yeah, McGuinness shouldn't feel ashamed here. Perfect connection. Like, everything about this worked. Crowd was into it as well. I gave this 4.25 stars. Just an absolutely brilliant match. After the match, Christian Cage shows up, and he's got his contract and he's ready to sign it, pulls out the pen, and Kip Sabian, does sneaks up behind him like he's in Looney Tunes, You practically can hear the when they walk on the tips of their feet, when they're on the tips of their toes, when they're being sneaky, when they're being stealthy, and he yoinks the pen out of his hand. Christian came out, he was in gear, he was ready to go, but then they do this and then they run off. Which is dumb. And I thought kind of sucked the energy out of the moment, at least for me. And can't you all see, like, right now, they don't know what to do? Do you feel like they're struggling to find something to do with this stupid cash-in thing? It kind of comes across as such now. It kind of feels like, oh, well, we have to do something about the cash-in because people are going to say, well, why didn't Christian cash in? So we have to do something, but we don't want Christian to cash in because the real money match is Mox versus Danielson at Wrestle Dream. So we got to do something. I wonder what could we do? What if Kip Sabian arrives and yoinks the pin away? And I'm like, this is so stupid. I'm telling you, these cash-in things, they're dumb. They're dumb. Then we had Hook defeating Roderick Strong to retain the FTW title. I gave this a three stars. I was like, okay, like well worked enough, but little plunder match. You've seen this, and Rod did his best. Like they both did their best here, but it is what it is. They set up some chairs in the ring, and they stand them up and they do shit on them. Like I don't know. I thought the effort was there. And it was a sub 10-minute match. I can't really complain. I think anything longer would have been worse, but I thought both guys worked well. I think it was a good match. I'm borderline, honestly, I'm borderlining between 2 3/4 and 3, but I don't know. I'm in a good mood. I gave it 3 stars out of 5 for what that matters. And the story here, though, is after the match. Well, first of all, Roderick Strong shakes Hook's hand, and so do Taven and Bennett. And then Hook celebrates with the New York crowd, and then Tony Schiavone tells him, "Whoa, fantastic! What's that we're right down the street from where your father presented the FTW championship years ago, first brought it into our consciousness, and then they retire it. Then Hook retires the title. He says, well, I think it's time. He says, on behalf of my family, thank you to everyone who challenged for the title. Thank you, fans, for the support. But via con Dios FTW title, it's time for you to be sent to the glue factory. That's basically it. Okay. This is an excellent decision and I support it. I could not be happier. I don't think we need a hardcore title in 2024 pro wrestling. I think that when Taz brought it back, when there was actually Team Taz, and it was him and Ricky Starks and Brian Cage and Hook, and I'm forgetting someone. Anyway, Taz brought it back because it kind of felt like, a renegade thing to do, right? Where it's like, I have these guys that they're not getting chances and whatnot, whatever. And it kind of felt connected to when Taz brought in the FTW title back in the day, where he's like, no one's giving me world title shots, so I'm going to come in with my own title. And the title, and I think at first, I'm trying to say too many things at once. I think at first it was a good idea, and I think it was compelling. But then quickly you sort of lost its purpose, right? This was a title that wasn't officially sanctioned by AEW, yet the title would be defended on pay-per-views constantly. They'd make, big matches out of it, whatever. Chris Jericho had a run with, it's like, who cares? And towards the end, when they started doing belt graphics, right? Over the past couple of months, they started doing the belt graphics before the matches, right? With the belts, all come together. Well, they did one for the FTW title. And I'm like, well, if this belt is unsanctioned, why is the company doing this? Why are they lending their referees for this? Like, what? I didn't understand a thing as to what. I don't know what the gimmick was here. It was kind of lost in the sauce. I thought over the past, let me think here, 8 months easily over the past 8 months, the FTW matches have been some of the worst matches on AEW pay-per-views. I welcome this change wholeheartedly. Thank you. Good night. Sweet Home, Sweet Chariot, right? It's fine. I'm not going to get a single tear out of me. I think this was a gimmick. Is I don't even want to call it a title. You can't really call it a championship because the company wasn't even like in kayfabe, of course, wasn't sanctioning it. So you're like, this was a gimmick that overstayed its welcome, and I think it's good for Hook too to break away from the orbit of the FTW title, because he's been intrinsically linked to it. I think it's good for him that he's breaking away from it. Let him stretch his legs more. Get rid of the plunder match hovering over him at every given turn. It's fine, And you can argue all you want about, oh, well, was this the way to do it? Can a champion just retire a title? Who cares? Who cares? Just on the basis that it's supposed to be unsanctioned, they can do whatever the hell they want, if you ask me. It's fine. Then we had the AEW World Tag Team title match where the Young Bucks successfully retained their titles championship against Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay in what is unquestionably the match of the night. And I will say it, I am going to affirm it with my full chest right here. The Young Bucks are back. The Bucks are back. Now, between this and their match at All Out and the little stint that they had in the trios match last Wednesday, these are starting to feel like the Bucks. I think the Young Bucks are starting to, as the kids say, cook again. God, I'm so sick of it though. I shouldn't say that. I'm kind of tired. Let them cook. They're cooking. And it doesn't mean anything. Like I get, like this is another expression that has been just devoid. It's been used so much. It's been used so much in so many circumstances that it's just devoid of meaning now. So it's fine. Let it die away. Let the kids come up with another saying. This was just tremendous. And now you can argue without a question that the Bucks are going to be great here because they're in the ring with Will Ospreay, who is the greatest wrestler on planet Earth right now, and with Kyle Fletcher, who is an incredible pro wrestler who's still on the come up, who has all the potential to be one of the greatest wrestlers on earth. And he's climbing up there, right? But I also think for the level that this match hit, you cannot not throw the Bucks into the mix and say this match was great because everywhere was great talent. And I am so happy to report that the Bucks are back doing what the Bucks do best, which is dynamic, innovative pro wrestling, tag team pro wrestling matches. That's what they do best. And away from too much shtick, again, here's another match that didn't involve goofy props and all sorts of stuff. Matt Jackson getting on the microphone, or just wrestling match. Yeah, they used their belts. Oh, gee willikers. The heels used the belts to try to get a win. It didn't work. But and it's bonkers because then people go, oh, it's a WWE thing. Now we have to pump the brakes on it's a WWE thing. We really have to pump the brakes on that because in this circumstance, because that's not specifically a WWE thing, right? That's like, have I had this thing on me this whole time? What is that? For those of you who have video, I had for those of you who don't have video, I had like a white thing, like a schmutz on my shirt. And I just pulled it off. and that completely distracted me from what I was saying. Yeah, so you don't... Heels using nefarious means to win a match is not a WWE thing. That's a pro wrestling thing, and that's something that can be overdone. And in this circumstance, I thought it worked really well, that the Bucks used their titles to take a shortcut because they're starting to feel like they can't beat these guys, and they shouldn't, because it's Will Ospreay and, his buddy Kyle Fletcher. And look, throughout the match, everyone's doing this incredible stuff, like Will catching Matt Jackson, flipping off the ropes off of for a TK driver, and just catching him like in an electric chair position. I'm like, Jesus. And then Kyle and Will do dual styles clashes to a huge reaction from the crowd. And then they actually do a TK driver to the Bucks, and then they do the Coriolis, and then it's Matt Jackson, right? They're doing this on Matt Jackson. So you're like, oh shit, this might actually be the finish, because it's always Matt Jackson who eats the pins. So they do the TK driver, Matt kicks out. They do the Coriolis immediately after. Matt kicks out again, and then Kyle Fletcher does the Generico turnbuckle brainbuster. And I'm like, this is bonkers. This is out. And the angle that they filmed it on was tremendous. You never get to see it from that angle. Just great stuff. Now, from that point forward, Don Callis arrives, and they do the screwdriver bit. And, and then Kyle goes to use it, but then Will comes in to interrupt him and says, not like this. We're not doing it like this. And I'm like, we really didn't need this. And I was like, we really didn't need this. It was going so well, but we didn't finish the match on that. There were the belt shots. There was a belt shot, and there was there was the belt shot, the super kicks, and the BTE trigger, the EVP trigger, whatever they call it now. And the Bucks were just fantastic and smooth. And they did that senton power bomb again, which is just fantastic. You're like, these guys are still doing amazing stuff. They're still coming up with new stuff, and just stringing together some great offense, especially in the first part of the match. They start off the match, how with the Bucks in control, not the baby faces getting an opening salvo. No, the Bucks get in control early on, and they're doing just fantastic offense, just tremendous offense. I don't know. There's nothing bad I can say here. The Bucks more than delivered here. We know what to expect out of Will. Kyle Fletcher, with every match, is establishing his star power, his staying power. Like, this guy has such an incredible future in pro wrestling. He's not far off from having all the pieces he needs to be a top guy. He's so close. He's so close. It's tremendous stuff, and I don't know, like I said, everything was going so well. The screwdriver thing, I really could have done without, but it didn't impede on my enjoyment of this match. I went high. I gave it 4 3/4 stars, just short of a match of the year for me. But these are the Jacksons that I want. These are the guys that I want. If they want to go backstage and do pithy little promos, go ahead. But when it's time to fucking wrestle, get in the ring and do the magic. Have the nationally televised great young Bucks run that we still have not had in AEW. We have not had the great young Bucks run. We really haven't. And I feel like it's gathering steam right now. I feel like we're on the trajectory for the Jacksons to have a truly great AEW run particularly as tag champions. Course correcting from, you know, the 90-degree turn that they took with the EVP angle and bullshit. That's like, now it feels like the Bucks are where they belong. And it's good. We have a promo with the conglomeration backstage, who have officially inducted Rocky Romero into the group, which is a shame that they do it now, because he's inducted into the group right after they do a t-shirt where they have like mock-ups of everyone in the conglomeration, and he was so close. There's Mark Briscoe and Orange Cassidy and Kyle Fletcher and Willow Nightingale. They sent the shirts out to print just before Rocky got in on it. Oh, man. That's got to sting. Mark Briscoe basically cuts the promo and hypes up their trios match against the Learning Tree, saying that he's wearing a Dem Boys shirt because we're right next door to where the Briscoe brothers had the last tag team match ever about a year ago. And a lot of us got hit in the feels with that one. We're like, oh, it's been a year, huh? That sucks. Prince Nana joins Tony Schiavone up on the stage to give an update on Swerve Strickland. Nana says, mentally, nothing can stop Strickland. He's the most dangerous guy in AEW, but physically, he's not clear to come back yet. And then struts out MVP. I can't remember. I wanted to say like what the MVP name means, but I can't remember. Montel, Verocious, Vociferous Porter, right? It's not vociferous. I can't remember what the V stands for. It doesn't matter. MVP to an audible, oh brother, from me, settled in MrWarrenHayes headquarters. Oh no, I'm not into this. I'm not into it. I'm really not. And you know, I talked about it on stream recently when we were talking about Bobby Lashley's contract status, and I was like, no, I don't. This is not something that interests me. It's not something that gets me. And here's the thing is that I like Bobby Lashley a lot. I thought that Bobby Lashley's run that he had just like towards the tail end of the pandemic, right? When the Hurt Business was really kicking. When he had his run, I will always say this, his run with the US title, where he was just established as a dominant champion, no one could defeat, and then dropped it in a three-way where he didn't get pinned, so then he could go challenge Drew McIntyre for the belt and then eventually become champion, was like perfect pinpoint booking. You have a champion that you want to build, that you of course you want to build and you want to keep strong and whatever. And in the meantime, you're on the side, you're simmering up a dude. You're getting another guy ready to move up to challenge him. What better way than having this guy win the secondary title, drop it in a three-way so he doesn't get pinned, he doesn't actually take the L, and then goes after Drew McIntyre, and everyone like, yeah, this rules. That was such great booking. And Lashley has a lot of upside. But he also has that's going a little far. But he does have how about some significant downside? How about the fact that, well, he's not a spring chicken anymore? How about AEW deciding to bring in a guy like Bobby Lashley, okay? Now, we're talking about this, but Lashley didn't even show up. It's just MVP. But these guys are connected at the hip at this point, right? And they've both said, they want to reform the Hurt Business somewhere else. Well, it's all but inevitable at this point that Lashley is going to show up. So let's talk about it. He's 48 years old. He's 48 years old and not exactly, and look, he's in tremendous shape. Don't get me wrong. He is in incredible shape. At least the last time we saw him, I can only imagine the work he's been putting on to debut in AEW. And he's pushing 50. You're bringing in a guy who's 50, who is about to be 50, and has never been a proven draw. Like a guy who has never shown to like move a number, to be like on top of things and be a business mover for your company. And he's not coming in for cheap either. I don't quite understand this decision. I don't understand this decision. And I understand that a lot of people have an attachment to the Hurt Business and want to see it flourish elsewhere, because I thought it was an incredible act. I thought they were a great faction and a great act. Go figure why Vince decided to pull the plug. Go figure why Triple H didn't know how to fire that back up. But as it stands, I understand that there's a lot of people who are into it, but is it going to translate into more ratings, more ticket sales? I don't see what the value is, because he's not coming in for cheap. He's not coming in for, a handshake and a hand dog. A handshake and a hot dog, or a hand dog. That's weird. It's like that episode of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Anywho, I don't understand the investment here. I don't understand the nature of this hire. Now, I see where they're going with the story here, because if we stick to the MVP part here, MVP agrees, with Nana that he's the most dangerous guy in AEW, and he puts over Strickland's reign, right? 8 months without being pinned or submitted, wins over Samoa Joe, Roderick Strong, Christian Cage, and Will Ospreay. But he wonders, why is the man who beat him to a pulp, to the point that he has to take time off to, get back into shape, in kayfabe, of course, and we're talking about Hangman Page here, why is he still walking around smiling? Why is the man who burned down his house not paying the price? And MVP says that's not a failure on Strickland, it's a failure on his management. So we see where they're going with this. MVP is going to try to recruit Strickland into a new version of whatever the Hurt Business is going to be called in AEW. And we're probably going to set up a match between Strickland and Bobby Lashley, which I'm sure is interesting at the very least. I'm just gonna look, I've made my reservations clear. I'm not convinced about this. It's not something that moves me, and it's not something that immediately to me makes a lot of business sense. Like, who are we not elevating here? Who are we not elevating to allow Bobby Lashley to have a spot on the show? Who is it? I couldn't tell you. But we've got so many guys and gals here. Why did we absolutely feel like we needed Bobby Lashley? Ricochet, I could understand. I absolutely get it. Bobby Lashley, I don't get it as much. But I'm willing to give it the old Copeland try. Because if you recall, I was not keen on Adam Copeland, Edge, joining AEW. I actually thought it was a pretty bad idea. But it turns out Copeland's been doing some of the best work he's done in the past 15 to 20 years. Like, he's been, well, maybe not 20 years. How about 10? Don't go too hard, Warren. 10, 15 years at least. Like, he's been tremendous. I'm very much into it. Maybe this will be that kind of thing for Lashley. But I got to tell you, a lot of we've talked about this before, and I'm just going to bring it up because I do want to move on to the next match and finish up this review. But you don't want AEW to become the place where the WWE cast-offs come to wrestle either. I'll leave it at that. We have a shot of the scapegoat bus. It's coming to Queens, folks. And then we had the AEW Women's World Title match. Mariah May successfully retained against Yuka Sakazaki. I didn't think this was very good. I didn't think this was very good. I gave it 2.5 stars. I didn't think it was very good. I'm sorry. Or am I? I thought that we were going to get a hard-hitting, dynamic, Joshi style, Japanese style match here, which would have fit fantastically in this smorgasbord of pro wrestling styles that we were getting all throughout the show. Instead, what we got was another slow, uninteresting Mariah May match. And the fact that this was slow is baffling to me. And Mariah May, over the course of her tenure in AEW as Tony Storm's, what was the word they used there? Understudy. She has had much better matches than this. And her world championship reign continues to be bland and uninteresting, and to me, a bust. This is not working, and this match was not good. And Yuka Sakazaki can be better than this as well. Look, let's just go to the post-match. Mariah May is gearing up to attack Yuka, but Willow Nightingale runs in to make the save. So we have a bit of a standoff there. And then Mina Shirakawa's music hits out of nowhere. She's there. And Mariah just hits the bricks and goes and picks her up and hugs her. And just, so thrilled that she's back. But you're not quite sure. Mina's like, wait a second, what were you trying to do? What were you doing? I don't recognize you. We all know where this is going. And we're gonna have Willow Nightingale be sprinkled within this at the same time. She is going to keep this I don't know, this four-way, this little quartet of people. She's going to keep it together. She's going to be the glue to this. Willow is tremendous. Willow is actually a legitimately great pro wrestler, and I think she has come. This is the person that you say has come so far from when she started. Look at her from when she began in in AEW and Ring of Honor at the same time, when she started doing appearances here and there, to where she is now. She's a bona fide star. She's a legitimate star. So, and she's good, and she'll be able to keep all of this working. I have a lot of faith in her. She's going to be in she was announced for the CMLL Women's Grand Prix, by the way, representing the United States, which is going to be in October. I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but yeah, she's been thrown in there. Good for her. Good for her. And then Jon Moxley defeated Darby Allin. He is the new number one contender for the AEW World Championship. I thought this was a very good match. I thought it was great. I gave it 4 stars. I think the only thing that was really hindering it was the inevitable outcome here. I don't think anyone was truly expecting Moxley to lose this match. And I think that outside of the build, which I also thought was kind of dumb, you will recall Jon Moxley coming up to Darby saying, "Why don't you fight me at Grand Slam? Because Danielson's indisposed, he's not going to be there." But then it turns out Danielson is going to be there because Nigel McGuinness challenged him. This was all it's fucking nonsense is what it is. Outside of that, this was very good, and it's the match you expected. It's the match you thought you'd get, where Jon just beats the tar out of Darby. Darby won't go down, and they're pulling the mats off of the floor, and Jon is he's slamming him onto the steel stairs on the outside, and Darby has these valiant comeback attempts, these valiant hope stops, and he does his his tremendous dives and whatnot, but he's also wiping himself out. And this ends with Darby attempting a superplex on Moxley. He does an attempt for a superplex on Moxley, and they sort of struggle on the tippy top rope, but instead Mox does an avalanche death rider and gets the win. So again, we weren't really expecting any other outcome, but the road to get there was a lot of fun. I don't mind predictability in wrestling. Outcomes is fine if the road to get there is entertaining, and I was very entertained. This Mox beating the shit out of him, Darby eating the shit and asking for some more. It's exactly what you thought it would be, and it was great. I thought it was a fantastic, great brawl with big spots, and I don't know what more you want out of this. After the match, Bryan Danielson hits the ring with and he starts choking out Jon Moxley with Justin Roberts' tie. How's that for a callback? Holy smokes. I'm like, well played, sir. Well played. That was tremendous. So he starts choking out Moxley, and then Claudio and Pac get here. Marina Shafir was already there at ringside. She had interfered during the match with Darby. And then they all come in here to pull Dragon off. And then Private Party and Commander come in. And so sort of to level the playing field, but they still get the shit beat out of them because they're jabrones, and they should, and then Moxley avoids a Busaiku knee, and he gets pulled out of the ring. And then Danielson gets on the mic saying, "You wanted war, I declare war." And then he finishes by saying that he is going to kick his fucking head in. Good little angle to finish it off. Good little angle to end it. So yeah, so everything is set for Tacoma, Washington in just a couple of weeks, right? In 2-3 weeks, something like that, 3 weeks. I'm interested. I mean, anyway, we'll talk about this another time because I've kept y'all long enough. We'll talk about it another time when it comes to speculation. What is going to happen, so on and so forth. Right now, Moxley and Danielson is set for Wrestle Dream, and it is going to be a hoot. I'm excited for it. And there's still a lot more stuff coming out of Grand Slam with the Collision and Rampage tapings, which I'll probably get to on one of the live streams over the next few days or so. But there you go. We're going to wrap this up. I like the show. Like I said, overall, it was a diverse show with all sorts of different types of wrestling that is sure to please just about most wrestling fans, right? I really do believe that. And I think there's really one match that failed to deliver, and that's a shame, because I think if they had delivered on that, then it really would have been, as I said earlier, a great smorgasbord here. But I'm complaining with my belly full. That was a Grand Slam delivered, was a good show. Was it great? Like I said, the stuff that connected Clifton was great. It was absolutely great. But I think, we've had these Grand Slam matches, these Grand Slam shows that had much bigger vibes. That would be the thing, is that the vibes weren't exactly there, despite the fact that the matches were absolutely tremendous. So it was a really good show. Why am I afraid to say great? It was a great show, with the caveat that we've had bigger, better, more exciting feeling Grand Slam shows than this one, if that makes sense. But it was still a great show. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm confusing myself. I'm not confusing myself, but I feel like my parting words are confusing. So we'll do these parting words instead. Thank you very much for listening or watching. whether you're on the YouTube channel or on your favorite podcast application. I appreciate it a great deal. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Go watch some Randy Orton and get back to me. And I'll see you next time.